Ciao, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. We are doing another Mediterranean diet summertime recipe video. Today I'm showcasing lots and lots of summer produce and some of my favorite ways to kind of highlight produce in general. One of the most important parts of the Mediterranean diet is getting in one, veggies, but two, a variety of veggies. It's really important to eat seasonally, and so with it being summertime, I wanted to showcase as many different types of summertime vegetables as possible. You could do all three of these recipes so differently depending on what time of year it is and the produce that you're finding in your local grocery stores or at the markets. All three recipes can be molded and shaped to fit your preferences. Like always, I try to include lots and lots of different substitutes that you could use. You can find all these recipes on my website. Links are in the description below. Let's talk about the three recipes that I am showcasing in this recipe video. Starting off with the first one, it is going to be a beautiful panzanella, a salad with big chunks of bread soaking up in delicious flavor from all vegetables. And why this panzanella is so special and delicious is it's my fresh take off of Caponata, a Sicilian dish with eggplants, tomatoes, bell peppers. It has a little bit of agrodolce to it, which is a little bit of sour and sweet. Recipe number two is going to be a galette. I love making a galette every season. I feel like every season deserves to be showcased with a galette. I am using some sun-dried tomato pesto that I made in a previous video, and I'm stirring that together with some ricotta for the base of the beautiful galette, and then lots of thin, delicious slices of sweet zucchini. And then for the third and final recipe, we are going to be doing one of my all-time favorite cheeses, halloumi. We're gonna do a honey thyme halloumi and sear that off and pair it with this really crisp and refreshing, vibrant cucumber salad, all on top of some really well-seasoned couscous. And I cannot even begin to express how excited I am to make all these delicious Mediterranean veggies. So let's hop into recipe number one. So to start off with the panzanella, we're gonna begin with roasting the vegetables. I have two kind of medium small eggplants here, about 1/2 inch slices, and then just make little cubes. You want it to be a little bit smaller than ideally a 1-inch cube that we're gonna do with the bread. I was so excited to make this recipe because I love eggplant. So caponata is a traditional dish from Sicily, and it's kind of like a cooked down chunky sauce. Cooked down tomatoes and eggplant, bell peppers, and then it's seasoned in an agrodolce kind of style, so kind of sour sweet. So I'm just, like I said, trying to take more of a little bit of a fresh take on it and way more deconstructed, because I love a lot of texture. I have a large roasting sheet tray here. I'm gonna go ahead and just add the eggplant. I'm dressing the eggplant in a little bit of olive oil, just make sure it gets well coated. Even better would be one of those spray oil bottles, because eggplant is a total sponge and it sucks up almost immediately that oil. And then sprinkle generously with some salt and pepper. It's really important that you get it all well coated in the salt, pepper, and olive oil, so that way it has lots of flavor. I have the tray of cubed eggplant going into the oven to rest. Next, we're gonna do a second tray for roasting. And I'm gonna do my quick method for a roasted red pepper, which is basically you're gonna cut along the inside where those ribs are and seeds, cut all around that, and just make these big kind of just pieces of bell peppers, and you want to put them flesh side up on the tray, and that way they will get nice and roasted. So easy to just peel right off, and that way you kind of have a very super quick, cheap version of roasted red peppers. I have 1/2 of a red onion here, and I'm just gonna do some really big slices because we'll go ahead and chop it up more finely later. You could also make all these veggies on the grill, chop them all up and add them into the panzanella if you are a grill type of person this summer. I'm adding this to the tray whole because I want the garlic to get, okay, this is an absolute massive one. So I'm just gonna do one because it's literally 2 in 1. So I'm just gonna crush it with the side of the knife. Go ahead and just peel off all that skin. It's gonna get soft and roasted. And then you can just mash it up and kind of stir it in with the dressing for this whole dish. Once again, taking the olive oil all over the top, a little bit of salt and pepper. I'm gonna give it a nice stir, making sure both sides are well coated. I have the bell peppers, onions, and garlic. While the veg roast, I'm gonna do the next thing that needs to go into the oven, which is the bread. I actually got a fresh loaf of bread yesterday, but this is really meant for, honestly, old bread that's just kind of more stale. Any culture in the Mediterranean is not a culture of food waste, so of course there's so many recipes in the Mediterranean for like stale bread and things like that because they just don't do waste, and I love that. So I'm just cubing it up, and what I'm gonna do is take out the veggies and just turn off the oven and let it cool completely with the bread in there. So it goes from super hot to super cool and the bread gets nice and toasted. Bread is evenly dispersed. You want to make sure there's a little bit of space between all the pieces so that way they toast evenly. So next we're going to talk about the dressing that completes this entire panzanella, but I also kind of want to call it a marinade because a lot of these ingredients are either going to soak it up or kind of produce more and more of that liquid. I took olive oil, of course, and vinegar. I did a mix of red wine vinegar and white wine vinegar because I had it. That's totally optional. You could just use red wine or white wine. And then I also went in with a little bit of lemon. So I wanted that lemon zest and lemon juice to just brighten up the dish in general. Cracked pepper, salt, dried oregano, Aleppo pepper flakes. You can use just regular chili flakes, but I love the distinct flavor of Aleppo. It is so delicious, and I don't like spicy, but I love Aleppo pepper. And then I also added in the Castelvetrano olives, and then capers is a very traditional flavor as well that goes into caponata. So I prepped this yesterday. So the olives and the capers have been infusing with these delicious flavors in this delicious oil. I'm gonna go ahead and chop up, what are these called? Figs. I'm just gonna do nice little bite-sized pieces of them. You traditionally will see that raisins are in caponata. I don't like raisins, I just don't gravitate towards raisins. They don't do much for me, but I love dried figs so much because they're sweet and they have that delicious seedy texture. You could do raisins if you do enjoy raisins, or any of your like favorite kind of dried fruit. I feel like dried apricots would be really, really good in this. Oh my gosh, I love figs. Dried figs are delicious. These are Turkish dried figs. It's really important not to get dried fruit that has sugar on it because it's kind of unnecessary. So next I'm gonna add in some Campari tomatoes, and I'm just gonna dice them up similar to the same size as the eggplant. I'm also leaving the insides, and as you stir them, you'll see that like the seeds and the inside kind of juices will start to pull from the tomato, which is actually really, really good because those juices are gonna help make for a juicier dressing and just a better tasting panzanella. So I have the tomatoes mixed in with the olives, the capers, the figs, and the whole liquid gold marinade. The vegetables have cooled down enough now for me to at least handle them. On the tray with the red onions, bell peppers, and garlic, I'm gonna take this gorgeous roasted garlic clove that I did and just mash it with a fork to create a beautiful paste, like a roasted garlic paste. So now that I have the garlic all mashed up, I'm gonna take it and add it straight into the bowl, and it's just gonna melt in with everything else. So next I'm gonna take the skin of the bell pepper off. Once it's cooled, it's so easy to handle, and you kind of just easily take off the top of the skin. And then I'm also gonna take with the bell peppers on the cutting board roasted red onions as well. If you don't like red onion, or if you have another onion like white or yellow onion, that would work as well too. I just love the color and the taste of the red onions. I want to just scrape all of this good stuff off, all of that flavor we made in the pan, and just take it and literally just get it in the bowl. Do a nice rough chop just so that they're about the same size as the tomatoes. You want all the veggies to be the same size. You want a really easy salad to eat. And so just nice little dices of the red peppers going in. And I love roasted red peppers so much, especially for this dish, because roasted red peppers give off this gorgeous like juice. So the faster you can get those roasted red peppers in the marinade, the better, because it'll continue to give off that like syrupy roasted red pepper juice that is so delicious. Kind of smaller chop of the roasted red onions. So go ahead and add all the onions in as well. Last of the vegetables is going to be the eggplant. So good. Oh my gosh, roasted eggplant. So underrated. You've got to try it. Some final pieces to complete this recipe. It wouldn't be a Caroline recipe without herbs. So I have a mix of two of my favorite really fresh herbs that I feel like this definitely needs. So I have some parsley here, and it's just probably a good handful, or about 2 tablespoons of fresh parsley. I like big pieces of herbs. If you are not a huge herby person, you want to finely chop this, but I'm just tearing in really, honestly, big pieces of parsley because I really love the flavor. So good for you. All these herbs are so full of nutrients. And then I have a mix of regular and this beautiful purple basil. We have purple basil this year, and so I've been trying to use it more. I literally picked these this morning before I came here. And it's just so rewarding to pick straight from your own little garden. And that way you don't waste as much too. You don't get like this huge container of herbs that you never end up using. Next up is a little bit of cheese. You can keep this completely dairy-free if you wanted to. I love ricotta salata. So I'm just gonna cube it up and then do little crumbles. Complements everything so well. It's a nice salty, cheesy bite. If you wanted to add a different cheese, whether it was like mozzarella, the last two things, the bread is ready. Is crunchy, ready to be added very gently into the bowl with all the veggies. Caroline, it's time for my very most favorite part. I'm just so excited to try this bread that's been soaked in this delicious marinade, along with the roasted vegetables, the tomatoes, the eggplants, the red bell peppers, capers, olives, ricotta salata. This is literally my dream salad. Oh my gosh, and then I get a delicious burst of chewy, tart, yet sweet fig. This is definitely not vinegary, but it has a little bit of sour taste to it that's complemented by the sweetness. The layers and layers of flavor in this salad are incredible. I absolutely love it. Every bite has so many textures. I'm telling you, you have to try this. This is a delicious salad. No greens needed for a delicious roasted vegetable summertime salad with soaked bread. The bread is crunchy yet chewy. It's the perfect texture. This is so good. I can't believe I have to set this down because I have to move on to recipe number 2, but I really don't want to. Absolute perfection. Let's move on to recipe number 2. So for recipe number 2, we are doing the sun-dried tomato ricotta zucchini galette. I have this incredible, so freaking good leftover sun-dried tomato pesto I made for my sun-dried tomato pasta salad recipe. And right now I'm gonna prep the filling while I wait for the pastry dough. It needs about 5 minutes before I start to go rolling it out. You still want it very cold because you want to keep that butter in the pastry dough cold, but I'm giving it a few minutes to get a little bit softer so I can work it really well. We're gonna go in with about, I would say, 1/4 cup of pesto. This is why I love to keep my pestos pretty thick like this, more of like a paste than a sauce. It allows you to be able to like do so many things with it, because if you just want to make it a sauce, you can always just add more olive oil. I have 15 ounces whole milk ricotta, super important whole milk. I love whole milk yogurt, ricotta, any cheeses, because it just has so much better flavor than fat-free or low fat. And this is the kind of fat that is good for us. The more processed, the worse it is for us. So I'd rather take a wholesome source of fat than eat a more processed product just because I'm losing that actually good quality fat. And we want a cup of the ricotta, just about half of it, because it's 15 ounces. Ricotta is so good, yum. Lastly, I'm gonna take 1 egg and just beat it in, because I don't want the ricotta to get like too runny. So the egg will help give it that like structure, kind of firms up a little bit when it cooks. Okay, egg is stirred in, pesto and ricotta, all done. The last thing before rolling out the delicious pastry crust is I'm going to cut the zucchini super thin. You can use a mandolin if you want to, because we aren't like pre-cooking these zucchini, to make sure that they get cooked all the way through and they become nice and soft and sweet. So once you go to roll the pastry crust, you want to be able to move very quickly. So that's why we prepped everything in advance. Get a big surface of flour on each side, because we don't want any sticking. This pastry crust is loaded with so much butter. So we definitely want to make sure there's a ton of flour everywhere so that it is not gonna stick. And if you didn't want to use pastry crust, you could use puff pastry. You could always find that in your freezer section, and that would also make a really like fun kind of tart. But I love making pastry crust, It's so simple and so easy, and you can keep these kind of crusts in your freezer. So that way, when you're ready to make something like this, it's ready to go. I should have waited a couple more minutes for it to soften. It takes a lot of elbow strength. I do about 5 or 6 back and forth rolls, and then I kind of make sure that it's not ripping too much apart. Kind of just push it all back together, and then you go in and do some more rolling. And then every 5 or so 6 rolls, I kind of turn it a little bit clockwise, just to make sure that we're keeping everything even. And so it's a really nice, thin, evenly spread out pastry crust. Okay, turn it a little bit, and you want to keep turning it, flipping it over halfway through, just to make sure that we have a lot of flour on each side and that there will be no sticking. And it doesn't have to be a perfect circle. Mine never are, because it's rustic. That's why I love a galette so much, is it's such a rustic dish to make. Again, if it tears, all you gotta do is just take a second, kind of push it together and re-roll it. You just want it about 1/4 of an inch thin. So I kind of just take a cookie sheet tray and kind of just go underneath. Woo. There we go. Not perfect, but that's okay. I'm going to take the delicious ricotta egg sun-dried tomato mixture. So easy to make because I already had that sun-dried tomato pesto prepped, and just place it right in the middle for a nice thin layer. And just take the thin little slices of zucchini and just make a beautiful circle. So slightly overlapping them as I take them all the way around the entire circle that I made of the ricotta pesto. It does take a little bit of time to assemble, but I promise it's so worth it in the end. It's a delicious meal to have, and it's so good if you want it for breakfast, for a quick lunch, even for dinner. It's really delicious reheated, so you'll just take like a slice of it and pop it in the oven at about, I would say, like 375 to reheat it, so that way you can get the pastry crust nice and flaky again. It's really easy to reheat, so nice to use your seasonal produce this way. And then you're just gonna take the crust and make a little rim, hopefully bringing it up all the way to the zucchini. And you kind of keep folding it over like you would like an envelope or a piece of paper or something like that. And again, it's gonna be so rustic, but that's the best. So I'm just taking piece by piece and kind of just pinching it, making sure that the edges are secured, that it won't like kind of leak through any of the edges. The galette has been crimped, all of the edges I brought up and made a beautiful, nice little crust. I'm gonna go ahead and do the final touches. To make sure that the zucchini gets a gorgeous golden brown crust, I'm gonna drizzle with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil on top. And I think the whole entire dish needs a nice, beautiful sprinkle of Parmesan on top. A big block here, it's kind of awkward. And I'm just gonna do a little simple grating of Parmesan all on top, just to help get a golden brown crust exterior, get a little bit of color, some cheesy goodness on the outside. I have the galette coated in olive oil and Parmesan. It looks already beautiful, so I hope it turns even more beautiful in the oven. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop it into the oven. The galette is out of the oven, golden brown. I gave it a minute to cool down. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut into it. You should hear a nice crisp crunch with that crust. Oh yeah, perfection. I am so excited to taste this incredible sun-dried tomato ricotta zucchini galette. This is the most Italy tasting thing I think I've ever made in America. Oh my gosh, the flavors are absolutely incredible. The crust is perfectly golden brown on the bottom, then the beautiful ricotta layer. That egg helped make it such a soft yet firm texture to really bite into, and then the sweet bite of roasted zucchini, buttery, salty, crispy, flaky crust. The sun-dried tomato pesto gives this so much flavor. I'm going to finish this slice and we are gonna move on to the third and final recipe. For the third and final recipe, I'm going to be doing a delicious cucumber salad. I'm just gonna do nice little slices of these Persian cucumbers. They're the minier cucumbers, and they always have so much flavor in my opinion. But you can use any cucumbers that you find. It is cucumber season. I have the cucumbers thinly sliced. I also have so many leftover pickled red onions from my last recipe video. You can use just regular slices of shallots or red onions. I really love the tang and the vibrantness of the pickled red onions. I just think they add such a delicious crunch, oniony flavor, and that delicious pickly flavor. I'm also going to take the pickled red onion juice into the salad as well, just about a tablespoon. If you don't have the pickled red onions, if you're not doing that, just add in some vinegar, some like white wine vinegar, red wine vinegar. Shocker, lots and lots of olive oil. Just drizzle that all over. Next, I'm going to take a huge handful of delicious mint. And I think the mint is so important here. Just the perfect flavor and the perfect herb. This mint is just so refreshing, and it goes so well with that pickled tang and those fresh cucumbers. Mint and cucumbers, just, they go well together. Just trust me on this. For more seasoning for this delicious salad, I'm going to be taking a tablespoon of Za'atar, and I think it goes so well. Since there's already sumac in the Za'atar, I want to add a little bit more, so I'm going to add about a teaspoon of some sumac. Really nice is the salt. When it hits those cucumbers, it will release some juices over time, which will help like create a nice, more liquidy goodness to this salad. A whole entire lemon. I'm not going to add the juice because I'm adding the juice into the lemon honey thyme mixture for the halloumi. Since I'm using the lemon juice, I hate wasting the zest of the lemon. That's where like so much of the flavor is. I'm gonna add just a little bit more olive oil on top, can't have too much, and give it a really good stir. The secret to making delicious food is tasting as you go and making sure everything is so well seasoned. You can stop here as a delicious, scrumptious cucumber salad. You can put it on literally everything, but I always like to give you guys so many meal ideas. So I'm gonna leave the cucumber salad off to the side. I already have the prep toasted. Technically it's not gluten-free, it's a wheat. So many gluten-free alternatives though, if you wanted to use quinoa for this recipe, or you just wanted to use any type of your favorite grain. Gluten-free or not gluten-free, whether it's farro, whether it's rice, whatever you like, just kind of a grain base, and the flavor of the toasted olive oil goodness gives it so much flavor. So I have the toasted couscous ready to go, and I have the cucumbers ready to go. So I'm gonna do the last part and use my top 3 favorite cheese. I know I've used cheese in every single recipe today, and I apologize because I try to always make accommodating recipes for dairy-free or vegans. I'm using halloumi because it just goes so well. It has all this dried mint. It's a beautiful cheese from Cyprus. If you don't want to use cheese for the first or this third recipe, you could just leave it out or find a different substitute. So I'm just gonna slice up the halloumi. It takes like 2 minutes to fry up, and then this whole meal will be ready to go to come together. So I'm just gonna take the halloumi out of the package here. Save that brine because it's so good. And you kind of just do 1/2-inch slices to just make sure it gets nice and fried on each side. It's honestly best cooked, like fried up or grilled. It's great cheese for grilling. So I have a saute pan, and I'm gonna put it over medium heat and get it nice and preheated. And then I'm gonna make a little tiny amount of mixture to drizzle on top of the halloumi. It's going to be a lemon, honey, thyme mixture. And so everything that goes in it is literally everything I just said. So a little like tablespoon, that was like 2 tablespoons of honey. I have some freshly picked thyme here. Yes, I know it's so annoying. Caroline, we get it. You went to go pick herbs this morning. Shut up. I'm leaving them whole. Thyme is really easy. You just kind of pull down on the leaves and hold the stem in place, and it just comes right off. And then I'm gonna do a little roll of my lemon. It helps release a lot of the juices, which makes it so easy to squeeze. And because I don't have a juicer with me, I like to just cut off each side and avoid the seeds and just squeeze it on in there. So it looks like it's like 1 part lemon juice for 2 parts honey. Ow, ooh, ow, I have a cut. Ow! There's always a way to find out you have cuts on your hands when you squeeze citrus. I'm gonna stir up the lemon juice, the honey, and the thyme. It is time to taste test the 3rd and final recipe, which is the delicious cucumber salad with pickled red onions, olive oil, za'atar, sumac, and mint. And then the lemon, honey, thyme, seared halloumi, and the toasted couscous. Everything has so much flavor. You have these super refreshing, herby, delicious cucumbers, and then the chewy, toasted, nutty couscous. I don't want to keep repeating the ingredients, but you just have to trust me that the flavors in this bowl are absolutely incredible, and the textures. Halloumi is seared, cooked to perfection, so chewy. Honey and the lemon and the thyme. So many good flavors going on. I feel like I've done a horrible job describing things in this video, but you just have to trust me. If you're lost on building a healthy meal, this is one of the most incredible meals you can make, is a bowl concept, because you balance it so well. You put a little bit of grains, a lot of veggies, some protein, some dairy, some fats, all these textures. You create such a satisfying meal because you have so much going on. It helps you learn kind of how to balance and what to portion. This video is the first video I've ever made. I cannot pick a favorite because I love every single one of these recipes so much. They're all so easy, so good for meal prep, so good for just the summertime with picnics and just all the things. Please let me know in the comments which recipe you are looking forward most to try. Also, please let me know if you have any questions about the Mediterranean lifestyle or the Mediterranean diet, or just comments in general, or things you want to share with me, or just things you'd like to know more about. So I just hope you enjoyed this video and got something out of it, whether it was a new ingredient to try, a new way of cooking to try, a whole entire new recipe, whatever it may be. I hope that this inspired you to start enjoying the Mediterranean diet as well as the Mediterranean lifestyle. Here on my channel, I share all things modern Mediterranean living, but I really hope you enjoyed. Thank you again so much for watching, and until next time, I hope you create a very zestful day. Ciao.